Oh, a new visitor from the woods. Welcome. Are you a lost wanderer? Tired of a long journey? Then join me. Sit beside the fireplace. And let me tell you some stories that may soothe your mood as you regain your strength. Are you all set? Good. Being part of a wealthy family surely gives someone an upper hand. One might live luxuriously, easily turning a blind eye to whatever the situation is, as long as they are not directly affected. But not all view things that way. There are some who approach things differently, identifying what is right and wrong, and never get blinded by privilege. This is the story of the finest peacekeeper in both Piltover and Zon, Caitlyn Kiraman, the sheriff of Piltover. Heading over to a city-state located on an isthmus between the Valoran and Shuriman continents, one might think that this place could be uneventful, since it was not as big as other empires in Runeterra. But they might change their minds once we unfold stories surrounding this place. For starters, the place is divided into two areas, the Piltover, also known as the Upper City, and Zon, the downtown. It is indeed fascinating to see a city directly above one another, but this setup created social differences. Even though both have titles like City of Progress for Piltover and City of Iron and Glass for Zon, it was still clear that there was a distinct imbalance between the two places. People of Piltover have more opportunities in life, while those who dwell in Zon need to survive. Born into a wealthy and influential merchant clan, Caitlyn Kiraman is the daughter of Tobias Kiraman, her father, and Cassandra Kiraman, her mother. Caitlyn swiftly learned the social graces of life in Piltover, but preferred to spend her time in the wilder lands outside it. Equally adept at mingling with the moneyed elite of the City of Progress or stalking a deer through the mud of the forest, she could confidently track a bird on the wing over the merchant districts, or put a shot through the eye of a hare at 100 paces with her father's repeater musket. It was evident that Caitlyn has a sharp observation skill, able to identify and keep an eye on a target wherever it goes. Caitlyn's greatest assets, however, were her intelligence and willingness to learn from her parents. As a wealthy family, her parents knew that there were things that money couldn't buy. They taught Caitlyn various important values, but the most important one was that they reinforced her understanding of right and wrong, even within a life of comfort and privilege. Her mother was one of the highest comptrollers in Clan Kiraman, and would always warn Caitlyn of Piltover's seductions and its gilded promises that could harden the kindest heart. At first, Caitlyn paid little heed. To her, Piltover was a place of beauty and order that she cherished after each trip into the wild. It was understandable, since Caitlyn hadn't experienced anything remotely close to what her mother had said. However, her innocent view of the world would change, as fate had other plans for her. A few years later, Caitlyn surely grew as a woman. Above average height, standing 6'1" tall, slim but muscular build, with pale skin, back-length dark blue hair, and piercing deep blue eyes. She perfectly displays her part of the Piltovan and Ionian race from her parents. Caitlyn has developed her hunting skills throughout her teens, but her skills will be put to the test at Progress Day in Piltover. Progress Day is an annual celebration in Piltover at the Plaza of the Sun Gates. The event is dedicated to welcoming visitors as they display numerous inventions, show different events, and exhibit hex-tech wonders of the land. It is indeed an eventful day, making almost everyone in Piltover busy, which also creates the perfect timing for someone with bad ideas. After some time, Caitlyn returned to find her home ransacked and empty. The family retainers were all dead, and there was no trace of her parents. No one saw this coming, not even Caitlyn, but she didn't let the situation stun her as Caitlyn investigated for clues. After securing the house, she immediately set out to find her parents. Tracking within the confines of a city was very different from hunting in the wild. Caitlyn may have experience in hunting in the woods, but this case was entirely different. However, her natural talent for keen observation was on full display, as one by one, Caitlyn located the thugs who had invaded her family home. With her wits and fierce approach, Caitlyn managed to get more information, not letting the thugs play dumb in the situation. The trail eventually led her to a hidden safe house where her mother and father were being tortured for information. As adrenaline kicked in, Caitlyn swiftly entered the facility. She then rescued her parents under cover of darkness and alerted the Piltover wardens. Since Caitlyn already planned her strategy ahead of time, the wardens arrived shortly after Caitlyn sent the signal, trapping all the kidnappers in sight and safely rescuing her parents. Even though the kidnappers were arrested, not one of them knew the identity of the individual who had hired them, only a proxy with the initial C. It would be a long interrogation after the incident, but for now, treating the wounds of her parents and ensuring their health is the priority. The kidnapping event was messy. Good thing the Kiraman family managed to heal from the wounds as they began to rebuild their lives. However, they may have healed the physical damage, but their mental state was never the same. The fundamentals of Caitlyn's parents had changed. Her mother in particular could no longer face the politics and duplicity of clan life, and gave up her prestigious role, leaving something of a vacuum in the Kiraman leadership. It was evident that they no longer wanted to be part of this chaos due to the trauma they experienced. And though she loved her parents dearly, Caitlyn had no desire to take her mother's place, nor to learn her father's trade as an artificer. Her interest is far off, and she was never raised to be the successor of either of her mother or father's profession. Instead, the incident aligned Caitlyn with her expertise. Her focus turned toward breaking through the web of intrigue surrounding the mysterious sea. She was able to track her parents and save them by herself, boosting her confidence that she could track the mastermind behind this. Her mind could stop thinking about the culprit, and it's reasonable, since that person could pull off the same trick someday, if left unchecked. Utilizing her hunting skills, Caitlyn established herself as a private investigator and quickly made a name for herself as someone who could find anything or anyone. Day by day, Caitlyn would help random citizens, sticking her nose to anything she sensed that needed help. News quickly spread through Piltover as an emerging self-made investigator enters the scene and seemingly has a 100% clean track record. It started with a few search requests from some citizens, and then it ballooned to more people relying on Caitlyn. She may be self-made without proper training, but her skills were off the roof, which made her name more popular in a short amount of time. Caitlyn's parents were extremely proud of their daughter, as Caitlyn held on to the principles she was taught in her childhood. In recognition of her self-made success, Caitlyn's parents crafted her a Hex-Tech rifle of exquisite artifice, with greater accuracy than any musket. The weapon could take a variety of specialized shells and be easily modified in the field. Caitlyn was delighted. The weapon fit her well, and this just further enabled Caitlyn to do more as an investigator. She finally found a purpose in her life where her skills backed her up. But all of this was just the byproduct of Caitlyn's true goal, which was tracing the infamous sea. With a new rifle at hand, Caitlyn grew to become a very skilled marksman. She trained her rifle skills whenever there were no requests from the citizens, allowing her sharp senses to translate into handling a rifle. Once, she joined a sniping competition in Piltover and easily won the trophy. But Caitlyn was a bit dissatisfied, as it looked like her competitor did not take the game seriously. She confronted her closest opponent in the competition, the Piltover Police Department Sheriff Grayson, about throwing the competition for her, suspecting that her parents had paid her to do it. Grayson admitted to letting her win, only because she felt that the girl deserved it, not because of her parents. Then asked her what she was shooting for. As Caitlyn continued with her everyday life, she also became very close to Jace Tallis, an academy student that her parents were sponsoring. They would occasionally hang out, since both of them vibe well. One day, Caitlyn was with Jace when his laboratory exploded after a break-in. The accident angered her father about the risk Jace had apparently put her in. Although Caitlyn and her mother were in agreement to speak in defense of Jace during his trial, it ultimately still went against his favor, much to Caitlyn's disappointment. It was a tragic case for Jace, resulting in expulsion from the Piltover Academy. It was even doubled down when Jace revealed to the council his desire to create magic. The Kiramans who sponsored him shunned Jace since he became a social embarrassment. Caitlyn's parents forbade Caitlyn from any further interactions with Jace. The setup lasted until Jace became successful with his Hextech experiment, proving Hextech a viable and revolutionary practice. Jace's services once again became in demand, after which he regained the Kiramans' favor and was yet again sponsored by them. The two became close again. The previous incidents became a clear sign that Caitlyn's parents may have been overprotective of her, a result that could be anchored by the previous traumatic event in their family. Caitlyn continued to do her mission, serving countless requests while searching for more information. A couple of weeks passed by, and a bizarre case unfolded in Piltover. A traumatic case involving a missing Hextech device and a series of child abductions. The wardens of Piltover tried their best to analyze the situation, but it seemed like they needed more help. That was when Caitlyn was summoned by the wardens. Caitlyn had been recommended by one of the wardens, who had also developed something of an affinity for stranger cases. And their battle with a host of rogue chimericks in the employ of a lunatic chem researcher driven mad by his own concoctions. The wardens needed more members on the rank, and Caitlyn was a strong candidate for the position. They have been monitoring her ever since the abduction of her parents, and since then, Caitlyn proved that she was something else, which led to her being offered a formal position in the wardens. Obviously, the sudden offer caught Caitlyn off guard. She never had any proper training to join the justice system, and even if she wanted to join the wardens, climbing the ranks would be the ideal way for her, so she could learn more along the way. At first, Caitlyn refused, doubting that she could fill the role in that instant. But after some thorough thinking about the offer, she eventually came to realize that the warden's resources could potentially get her closer to discovering the true identity of C. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, helping both the missing children case and her true goal. And a badge would solidify her position, no longer a self-made investigator, but rather a warden within the ranks. Because of that, Caitlyn trusted her guts and accepted the role, formally entering the justice system of Piltover. Joining the ranks of the wardens in Piltover, Caitlyn now wears a uniform so the citizens can easily identify her as an ally working for the betterment of society. Her outfit is a combination of white, dark blue, and bronze colors. She consists of a warden's uniform with a short navy blue skirt, long navy blue stockings with embellishments, and bronze-heeled boots, as she always wears a matching top hat with the uniform, which gives her a classy yet intimidating look. With a badge in her pocket, her outfit was tied together by her rifle from her parents. Since then, Caitlyn becomes a highly respected officer within the ranks of the wardens, always striving to make the City of Progress a better and safer place. She recently partnered with a new recruit from Zaun, the brash and reckless V, a hot-headed and fearsome woman. V is a muscular, athletic, and light-skinned woman. She wears common punk street fashion typical for Zaunite and Piltover youth, atypical for her warden profession. Her most notable features are her mechanical augment-inspired tattoos across her entire back and arms, including a VI tattoo on her left cheek, as well as her natural pink hair. She has gray eyes and a height of 5'8". The description alone showed that Caitlyn and V were the exact opposite of each other. One was a precise worker, while the other one was impulsive. But despite the obvious difference, the two seemed to work well. How such an unlikely pairing came about and been proven so effective is the subject of wild rumor and tavern speculation among their fellow wardens, as well as those they haul away to jail. However, the previous problem came back to bite her as Caitlyn's parents, specifically her mother, continued to intervene with her path. After becoming an enforcer, Caitlyn developed a great sense of duty and responsibility, since she wants to be of service to her people. Her mother often prevents her from doing necessary police work that can stop Silco's evil activities, telling Caitlyn it is too dangerous, and as a result, Caitlyn despises it. She was upset with her mother because she used her power and influence to limit her work to unexciting safeguard duty rather than letting her do meaningful police work. This rankles Caitlyn, especially since she resented being coddled ever since she was a child, and also wanted to prove herself worthy by her merits, rather than being given things due to her family. Despite the situation, Caitlyn was still determined to unfold the frequent abduction cases both in Piltover and Zon. Most of the time, Caitlyn would do undercover missions and use the name Matilda. Through the cases she encountered and her investigations, Caitlyn came to the theory that someone was secretly at the center of all the violence, and the Undercity was involved. Her investigations on this were never taken seriously, however, because they were being dismissed and unknowingly stonewalled by the sheriff during her time, Marcus, who was in fact in cahoots with the man she was investigating. Even doing things on her own, Caitlyn remained suspicious, trusting her theory. Throughout her missions, V, her partner in law enforcement, would help her crack multiple cases, serving both Piltover and Zon. The two have a very close relationship, and they've been chasing after Jinx, V's sister, and a dangerous criminal who's been wreaking havoc in Piltover. In a separate missing, they managed to stop a turmoil caused by Urgot, the Dreadnought, and his followers, catching him and later putting him in an isolated island prison. The duo later fights him again when his followers try to free him from prison. Needless to say, Caitlyn's journey as a law enforcer has been a roller coaster ride. There were ups and downs, and sometimes even dull moments, but all of those scenarios just brought Caitlyn and V closer to each other. V even called Caitlyn Cupcake as her nickname. The duo showed their worth as peacemakers in the city, which led to the promotion of Caitlyn as sheriff in town, finally earning the respect that she deserved, not just with the help of her wealthy and influential parents, but because of her sheer determination in solving crimes in Piltover. It seemed like Caitlyn managed to outdo her parents, telling them that she could handle herself without them intervening. Caitlyn became a woman who was very devoted to the community of Piltover. She enjoys her work as a sheriff, where she assists citizens and apprehends criminals while ensuring they have a fair trial, demonstrating that she is fair to both good and bad people. She is strict, disciplined, and level-headed. She will use legal means to ensure that her work is meticulous and routine, while V oftentimes does the exact opposite. These characteristics are what distinguish her as an effective detective. However, Caitlyn can also be somewhat rebellious, as she has been known to break the rules at times in order to carry out her duty, such as following V to join her and chaperone her on missions. There have been rumors that her and V's relationship is more than just professional or a friendship. Caitlyn has proven to be a very compassionate person after witnessing the state of Zon. She works together with V to protect the city and prevent corruption from continuing. Despite her maturity and elegance, Caitlyn is a big fan of Seraphine, the starry-eyed songstress of Zon, and will drop all said traits to being giddy and excitable whenever Seraphine is around. This just proves that even though she showcased a strict persona, she was still enjoying her time as an individual, showing all sides of her character. It has been a few years since the incident, and the case of figuring out whose letter C and the one who's responsible for all the abducting cases were still unknown. But Caitlyn will continue to track that person down. Can Caitlyn crack the case? That would be the story next time.